It is known as most people, at least in the Ashkenazi community, when they hear Kaddish, they stand up. And in fact, it's mentioned in the Rema, in the main Ashkenazic authority in the Shulchan Aruch, in the 56th chapter of Orach Chaim. Rema says that it's worthwhile to stand up when you answer Kaddish. And other Divrei Kedusha, things like Barhu, certain parts of prayer which are answered with a minyan, and they're called Dvarim Shebekdusha, you have to get up, according to Rama. At least it's not exactly the way he's quoting it. It's not exactly clear the wording, whether it's a full obligation or it's a good thing to do. But at least that's what the minhag is. Among Sephardim and many Hasidim, it's not as common. A lot of times they do not get up in order to answer Kaddish. In fact, Arizal, the greatest Kabbalistic authority, is quoted that he used to say that the so-called Yerushalmi, there is a Jerusalem Talmud, as they call it. It wasn't really made in Jerusalem, it was made in northern Israel, because at that time the Romans did not allow Jews almost to live in Jerusalem. It was almost completely destroyed, and the Jews generally lived in the north. The center of Jewish learning at that time already was in the north, when most of Yerushalmi was composed. So the more correct name of this Talmud is not Jerusalem Talmud, but Talmud of the land of Israel, as they used to call it, Palestinian Talmud. Right? It used to be that Palestine was just a geographical location, and the Jews who lived in Palestine were called Palestinians, and that was in the British passports as well. So when we see the word Palestine, you have to make no mistake that it has nothing to do with the invented nation of Palestinians, so-called, that was invented less than 100 years ago. But the Palestinians are just regular Arabs. But when it says Palestinian Talmud, it's talking about what we call Yerushalmi. That's how they used to call it in English in various sources. I mean, just less than 100 years ago, you could see a lot of the quotes from Palestinian Talmud, PT. They used to abbreviate. Babylonian Talmud is BT, and Palestinian Talmud is PT. That's the Yerushalmi, or the Talmud of Eretz Israel. The more correct specific name is Talmud of Eretz Israel. It's probably called Yerushalmi in a lot of sources is because we want to associate all the learning of the Torah with Jerusalem. Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah udvar Hashem Yerushalayim. It says that from Zion will come the Torah and the word of Hashem from Yerushalayim. That's why a lot of times the Talmud of Eretz Israel is called Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud. Of course, originally it did come. The most important seat of learning was in Jerusalem until the destruction of the temple. But after the destruction, it shifted to Yavne. Jerusalem was destroyed, and then later it shifted further north to Galilee. Whatever the case may be, the source for getting up when Kaddish is said is Yerushalmi. But it's not found in our Nusachayot, in our versions of Yerushalmi. Even though a number of Rishonim quoted, apparently they had it in their versions. But Yerushalmi was not preserved so well. There was so much persecution that Yerushalmi was not preserved as well as Bavli. Babylonian Talmud was preserved better, much better. So that's why sometimes we find quotes from Yerushalmi that don't exist in our versions of Yerushalmi. So Arizal used to say that it's a mistaken addition, that it's not part of Yerushalmi altogether. Like I said, in our Yerushalmi it also doesn't exist. But Arizal is quoted to say that this is a mistaken. Somebody, when they were copying the manuscript, somebody added those words based on their understanding, but it's not correct. So that's why the Sephardim, who usually follow Arizal, and the Hasidim also to a large extent follow Arizal. After all, in Kabbalah, Arizal is considered the greatest authority. So that's why they don't always get up when they answer Kaddish. But among most Ashkenazim, it's customary to get up, to stand up when you answer Kaddish. So the reason I'm telling you all this right now is because we're reading in Parshat Balak an interesting hint to maybe the idea that you have to get up when you're answering. Obviously it's not, there's no Kadish in our Parsha, but at least the idea that you stand up when you answer or hear the word of Hashem. And that is when Bilaam comes with a prophecy and Balak is sitting there and Bilaam tells him, get up and hear the word of Hashem, right? Bilaam tells him to get up. So we see from this idea that when you hear the word of Hashem, you have to get up. I'm not the one who invented this. This is found in the writings of certain rabbis, including somebody named Rav Shlomo Kluger. If you ever heard about this Rav, he lived over 200 years ago. He was a very, very prolific author. It's amazing how much this person wrote. It's like so many different responses, Shalot Shuvot of various kind. I remember one synagogue where I used to pray, they had a whole shelf of just the writings of this one rabbi. And anybody who read any of his Shuvot, you could see that each of his responses requires definitely, it's not a novel that you could just sit and write. You have to work on the sources, and it's a huge work. Each tshuva is a huge work. So to write so many tshuvot, it's unbelievable. By the way, I think there is a tradition that his wife helped him copy the manuscripts and write for him. I don't know where it's based on, but that's what my friend, with whom we used to learn, Chavrusa, told me this. Anyway, so this Rav Shlomo Kluger, in one of his many, many writings, it's called Shenot Chaim, Shalot V'Tshuvot, the response of years of life, literally, Shenot Chaim. So he writes there that the source for our custom to get up when you answer Kaddish is based on this verse. Maybe, in fact, that was some version of Yerushalmi, according to his proposition. At any rate, I think it's very interesting that we will maybe find a hint to the idea of getting up when you're answering Kaddish. Now, today, the minhag of most Ashkenazic Jews is in a way contradictory to itself, and that is that we do get up when we answer Kaddish, but we don't always get up to answer Baruch Hu when the Torah is read. The truth is, the Mishnah Brura, the main Ashkenazic authority, says that you have to get up for that too. You don't have to stand up when the Torah is being read. During the reading of the Torah, you don't have to be standing. But when Baruch Hu is said, according to Mishnah Brura, you have to get up each time. And very few people do that. So it's a surprise, because if we follow the opinion of Rema with regards to Kaddish, we have to follow it with regards to Baruch Hu as well. Sephardim generally sit during Baruch Hu, that's why it's not contradictory. But the Ashkenazim, who definitely get up when Baruch Hu is said in other parts of the prayer, in the first Baruch Hu that's said before the brachot, before Kriyat Shema, in that Baruch Hu everybody gets up. So why not get up every time Baruch Hu is said during reading of the Torah? I suspect a lot of people don't know that according to Mishnah Brura, really you have to get up every time Baruch Hu is said. But at least the custom doesn't seem to be that everybody gets up when answering Baruch Hu. And on this I'm going to end for today. If you like this video, please press like.